Thank you. Please call this meeting to order of the Sacramento City Council. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Kaplan.
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Talamontes.
Here.
Councilmember Pleckybaum.
Here.
Councilmember Maple.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra is expected momentarily. Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Vang.
Here.
And Mayor McCarty.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilmember Vang, can you lead us in the land acknowledgement?
Yes. Please rise for the opening acknowledgement in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Patwin and Wintu peoples, and the people of Welton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral land by choosing to gather today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous peoples, history, contributions, and lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Attorney, do you have a report out from closed session?
We have nothing to report out.
Thank you. Mayor, we now move to the consent calendar, items 1 through 14. Do council members have comments, questions? Councilmember Kaplan?
Confused about where to push. Not used to it yet. Just quick comments on item 9 and 12.
Okay, seeing no others queued up to speak, do you want to go ahead on item 9?
Yes, I just want to say publicly, I am so excited. This is the contract to get restrooms at Burberry Community Park. These restrooms are 20 years in the making, so very hearty congrats to the community and those. It is constantly used to play soccer, so now they don't have to rent porta potties. They are going to get restrooms. So just wanted to flag that and thank our park staff. And continuing on the parks route, I want to thank, this is putting into place the $500,000 grant that we got from Senate Majority Leader Ashby so that we can finish the build out of phase 7. I think it's like phase 7 of like 20 of the North Natomas Regional Park. That is a 5-acre parkland, and it's installing picnic areas, new turf area for another placemaking. And if you've ever been there, it is the area just north of the Aquatic Center at the North Natomas Regional Park, but always appreciating ways that we can activate our community in our parks. So thank you, and with that, I will move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. That was a motion by Councilmember Kaplan and a second by Vice Mayor Talamontes. I have 2 speakers on this item, Lambert Davis and Annabelle Gonzalez. Lambert?
Yes, I came down to speak on, I think it's 7 and 8. Yeah, it is. It should be. I go by what I read on the line. Anyway, it was about the whistleblowing department. I want to send a shout out to Farista, the city auditor. Outstanding work on her auditor's report. Also, on the whistleblowing department, it should be funded because that department, when Mayor Steinberg was here, it actually caught a no written agreement, which is a stickler for me because if you're playing by all the rules, a no written agreement that you claim you can't audit. I was just at a bank yesterday and I asked them, is there any way that I can write a check from my business account and you can't track it? They said, no way. Even when I go to the IRS, the first thing they ask for is your bank statements. If you're not in business for yourself, you may not know that. But if you're in business, you know you can be audited. And I have been audited, and we got out clean. Now, this auditor also unveiled that blacks are in the lowest salaried positions in City Hall. And I asked the question, does that mean the blacks that have a college degree? Because when I went to college, the goal was if you get a degree, you don't want to be at the bottom. Why would you want to be at the bottom after 4 years or whatever it took you to earn a degree? My question was, a lot of the people that are in big positions, how did they get there? Was it nepotism? And then they went to college? There's something wrong with that if they were college degree black people.
Annabelle Gonzalez is our final speaker on the consent calendar.
How do 40 tiny homes cost $7.1 million without a council vote? Why are the final stamped plans and elevation certificates still outstanding? And why build on ground with almost 30 years of documented flood concerns without a proper drainage study? Those aren't political questions. They're common sense questions. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am Annabelle Gonzalez, a small business owner and a 12-year homeowner in North Natomas. I am speaking on item 4. I support this item. You are spending $1.3 million on floodgates because they protect homes, evacuation routes, and emergency access when flooding happens. That protection should apply to everyone, including people experiencing homelessness. Now look at 3511 Arena Boulevard. Back in 1997, flooding was already identified as a significant concern. Records showed groundwater could be within about 2 feet of the surface. And the city's own Basin 8C records show something simple. There's 2 drainage manholes on this property. In the worst storm the city plans for, their own study shows the water rising to the very top of it, not near the top, at the top. The safety margin is their table is 0. And that's not just neighbors questioning the city's approach. The Sacramento Homeless Union is challenging the city in court. When residents and advocates for unhoused people are both raising concerns that's worth listening to. This should never be residents versus people experiencing homelessness. We all deserve safe solutions. I do not oppose helping people. I oppose this location for the surrounding community and for the seniors who would be living there. The ground itself is telling us the answer. We should listen to it. Get an independent engineering review. Release the final stamped plans and elevation certificates. Do a proper drainage study. Help people protect the community. Please choose the right site. Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes our public comment on the consent calendar.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Noes or abstentions? Seeing, hearing none, consent calendar passes. Next item.
Next item is item 15 on the discussion calendar, audit of the Department of Utilities Energy Use Power Purchase Agreements. And Mayor, I have no speakers on this agenda item.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor McCarty, members of the council. My name is Charles Meadows. I am the Performance Audit Manager for the Office of the City Auditor. With me today is Perry Nataji, who is primarily responsible for conducting this audit. The recommendation before you today is to accept the audit of the Department of Utilities Energy Use Power Purchase Agreements for final approval. This report covers phase 1 of the audit of the Department of Utilities Energy Use. Phase 2 is currently underway to evaluate the department's fleet electrification. There we go. Okay. The objective of this audit was to review the Department of Utilities power purchase agreements to gain an understanding of the associated costs and benefits. To do this, we reviewed solar billing information from SMUD and for the Sacramento River Water Treatment Plant and the EA Fairbairn Water Treatment Plant. We used power generation data from SMUD to calculate the amount of solar energy generated and used in kilowatt hours at the 2 facilities. We benchmarked DOU's PPA agreements, or PPA contracts to 5 other municipalities, and we analyzed the buyout or early termination costs in PPA and solar shares and alternatives beyond the PPA contract horizon. What is a power purchase agreement? A power purchase agreement is an arrangement in which a vendor installs, owns, and operates a renewable energy generation system on a customer's property or off-site. The customer then purchases the system's electric output for a predetermined period and contract price. A PPA allows the customer to receive stable and often lower-cost electricity with no upfront cost, while also enabling the owner of the system to take advantage of renewable energy credits or tax and grant incentives from the sale of electricity. The diagram here illustrates how solar generation in a PPA works. Our on-site PPA vendor is Tesla, and our off-site PPA, also called Solar Shares, is with SMUD. In finding one, we reviewed the 2 DOU-specific sites with solar arrays, one at the Sacramento River Water Treatment Plant and EA Fairbairn Water Treatment Plant. We found that the on-site PPAs at both sites help to reduce energy costs and support the city's solar energy goals. They also present important long-term operational and financial considerations as the agreements approach key renewal or buyout decision points. The agreements end in 2032 at Sacramento River Water Treatment Plant and 2033 at EA Fairbairn. So DOU must consider its options at that juncture. This table contains the combined PPA savings at the Fairbairn Water Treatment Plant and Sac River Water Treatment Plant for the past 5 calendar years. To calculate the estimated cost savings at the 2 sites, we first calculated the market rate cost of solar energy used by applying SMUD's average rate per kilowatt hour. Next, we calculated the total cost paid for solar energy for solar energy produced under the PPA at the PPA rate. When these 2 amounts are subtracted from each other, we get the amount of savings the PPAs garnered each year. The net PPA savings at EAF came to about $464,400, and the savings at SRWTP were $138,600. An important note is that there was a period of non-production at the Sacramento River Water Treatment Plant, yet despite the downtime, the 2 sites still produced total savings of $603,000. Although the PPAs generated measurable cost savings and contributed to the overall site energy demand, they only comprise between 3 and 10% of the site's total energy production. Let's see. The solar panels at the Sacramento River Water Treatment Plant were non-operational for a period of 3 years due to various factors. Because of that, we decided to look at the contract terms to determine what aspects of the language contributed to this long downtime. We concluded that the city had a broad maintenance clause and lacked remedies for maintenance and panel non-performance. We then compared the city's contract terms to those of 5 other California municipalities. We found that other entities had more concrete maintenance terms, such as time of performance, standards for level of performance for panel maintenance and production, and audit clauses wherein the vendor had to demonstrate how well the panels were producing. PPAs of other California municipalities identified contract provisions that, if adopted by the city in future agreements, may provide greater assurance regarding solar panel performance, maintenance, operational accountability, and long-term cost savings. When the contracts end, the vendor is responsible for the removal of the solar equipment from the site and returning the site to its original conditions at no cost to DOU. DOU has a number of options when the contracts end, including buying out the existing system or no longer using solar at all. There have been significant technological advances in how much power can be generated by solar panels. In addition, the current panels will have been in place for 20 years. And as such, the panels may not be producing as much energy as they were at initial construction. One of DOU's options is to construct new panels at SRWTP and EA Fairbairn WTP. We completed a high-level calculation of what modern solar panels may cost and found the following. A new solar array using 260-watt panels, which is similar to what we already have, may cost about $1.9 million at Sac River Water Treatment Plant, while at EAF-WTP, it may cost up to $5.3 million. Further, if DOU elects to upgrade the solar panels to 435 watts, this could cost approximately $2.8 to $3.2 million at Sac River Water Treatment Plant, and approximately $8 million to $9.2 million at EAF-WTP. Upgrading to these new panels could increase solar generation capabilities by about 82%. If the city were to install its own solar panels or purchase the existing ones, the energy produced would be free to the city, and the city can claim renewable energy credits attributed to the production of solar energy. As I mentioned, DOU has a number of options at the end of the contract. These options are listed here. Since we're still a few years away and the costs and types of panels at that time are unclear, we recommend that DOU review and assess its various options when the contracts approach the renewal or buyout periods. Finding number 2 reviews the Solar Shares program with SMUD. The Solar Shares program is a type of off-site PPA where solar power is generated at sites like Rancho Seco, pictured here, and the energy is then sold to participants. The city currently has 96 facilities enlisted in the Solar Shares program, of which 38 are DOU sites. Since the city has been participating in SMUD's commercial Solar Shares program, costs for energy have increased at the 2 water treatment plants. At the same time, the clean energy produced has offset a great deal of CO2 emissions. The positive side of this program is that by having the water treatment plants participate in the Solar Shares program, the city has been avoiding emitting harmful greenhouse gases into the environment. We observed that through December 2025, SMUD has credited DOU almost 64 million kilowatt hours of energy from the Solar Shares at just the 2 sites. This has resulted in an estimated 32,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent being avoided. And according to the Environmental Protection Agency's greenhouse gas equivalencies calculator, this would be the equivalent of CO2 emissions from consuming over 3.6 million gallons of gasoline, driving more than 82 million miles in a gasoline-powered passenger vehicle, or the electricity use of 11,000 homes for 1 year. The city's continued participation in the Solar Shares program, for which the contract will end with the December 2038 billing period, will continue to provide environmental benefits for the duration of the contract. As we stated earlier, the city's participation in the Solar Shares program has resulted in higher energy costs during the review period compared to purchasing market rate electricity from SMUD. The annual net costs fluctuated year to year based on the relationship between Solar Shares charges and the credits received. While the program provided access to renewable energy benefits without requiring the city to own or maintain solar infrastructure, participation did not generate net financial savings for the facilities during the period reviewed. Overall, participation in the Solar Shares program has resulted in additional energy costs of more than $623,000 altogether at the 2 sites. However, we do note that SMUD makes no guarantees or warranties with respect to any cost savings based on participation in the Solar Shares program. There may be possible savings in future years, but this is uncertain. We recommend that DOU consider opportunities to identify and use renewable energy sources, identify additional opportunities to participate in the emission-reducing energy programs at SRWTP and EAF. Well, that concludes my presentation. We'd like to thank the Department of Utilities, the Department of Public Works, and SMUD for their cooperation in conducting this audit. Staff from both our office and DOU are here to answer questions.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kaplan, you have comments?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I really want to thank auditor and staff and everybody, because I think it's always optimal of taking a look at these because of how they're set up. If we can have IT put up the benchmarking slide again, I think that's something I really want to highlight, where we move forward and how we move forward with this, because it was the checklist of the benchmarking of where we are versus other contracts and items that are in them. Keep going back. That one. So looking at that just gives me a little pause and concern that you look at other protections that other jurisdictions have that we don't have, and I think that's something we really need to take a look at, and how do we strengthen, even if I think we need to look at, is it useful for the city to continue with the solar panels we have? If it is, yes, and extending another 5 years, all of these things should be subject and included in the negotiations, because having, not requiring the vendor to perform regular maintenance of these solar panels, I think is a big miss. I don't know if they are or they're not doing them, but I think it's important that should really just be mandatory. And then why are we still on the hook if the solar panels are down and not generating anything? So I think this highlights where we could do better. I think I'm open to whether we should get new solar panels that produce more energy. Is that cost efficient? But I think at minimum, when we look at this slide, we should not be missing any of this, and we should be directly where the Department of Water and Power is with LA. None of these items should be missed. I mean, even more school districts have more protections than we do. So I think really when you look at strengthening contract language, maintenance, return on investment, I want us to start doing that now, even to the extent of not saying we should reopen it, but going back and can we get some version of them doing maintenance now? Like, are they looking, what are they doing, and those expectations. But, you know, we know it's the wave of the future of how do we do renewable energy, and how do we partner with SMUD on up-to-date best practices. So I look forward to hearing from DOU what your guys' thoughts are on the next steps. But I want to thank Audit for coming up and proposing some of this stuff. Thank you.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Thanks. I just wanted to make note that when we discussed this at the Budget and Audit Committee, we did spend some time talking about the benchmarking. I think it's appropriate that Councilmember Kaplan has focused on that, and certainly we look at the contracts that the city has now and see that they are lacking a number of these additional elements that other jurisdictions have included in their contracts, and recommend that be pursued. One of the other things, though, that we also took note of was the termination dates of these contracts should not necessarily be the point at time where we initiate looking at whether we can adjust these contracts. That now is a moment, as we've identified issues that we think are important ways of improving these contracts, that we begin discussions with SMUD and other partners with respect to modification of the contracts sooner than their termination dates. And I think, if I recall, Dahlia agreed with that at the Budget Committee as well. So that's a contracts management issue. But I think it's also fair to say we saw value in avoidance of electricity use, at least in one case, and reduction of emissions as well. So there's benefit to be had here, but we think we can hopefully arrange to get better deals sooner. It's the way I would summarize where we came out at the Budget Committee. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Thank you very much. One bottom line, the city saved more than 600 grand in energy costs through the solar power purchase agreement by installing solar powers at our water treatment plants. And this is a clear example how we can lower utility bills while investing in real climate solutions. So if we decide to extend these 5-year contracts after the expiration, yes, I think we should compare all of the different options, not only on their efficacy on how much they're reducing emissions, but also on, what does it look like for the future? In considering the contracts, we should explore also the new battery storage technology that is occurring so that when we are producing solar, many times we can't use all that solar energy, so we lose it. So it's important that we capture all of that. So this is where benchmarking is important, and strong maintenance and operation conditions are important, because we want to make sure that those solar panels are producing and we're capturing all of those cost savings. So again, bottom line, this is a good way of saying fiscal responsibility and climate action shouldn't have to compete against each other. And this is a very direct, small investment, but it does lower costs. It reduces emissions from our area. And since most of our energy is produced also by natural gas peaker plants, but it also strengthens the quality of life here in Sacramento. So I'll go ahead and move the audit report and thank the city auditor for their work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Noes or abstentions? Hearing none, item passes.
Thank you. Mayor, we now move to council comments, ideas, questions, and AB 123 reports. I am seeing no one signed up to speak. I do have, we move to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mindy. I have a few updates about some upcoming events. On August the 20th, we would like the public to join us from Thursday from 5:30 to 8 at Pinnell Meadowview Pool to meet community members and staff so you can learn about some city projects, programs, and services. This month's free event will feature our youth, parks, and enrichment team. So come out August the 20th from 5:30 to 8 at Pinnell Meadowview Pool. There are free dog adoptions, so anybody that needs a little furry pet running around their house, we have free dog adoptions through August the 23rd. You can go to Front Street Animal Shelter. They're waiving adoption fees for all adoptable dogs through Sunday, and the shelter is open from noon to 5. We are proposing water rate adjustments. We are encouraging our residents to review the proposed adjustments to our city drinking water and sewer fees. Rates have remained unchanged since 2020, and operation and maintenance costs, of course, continue to increase. But we would like to be transparent, and we would like to communicate what proposed rates could be, so we would like the participation of the community. Public Works recognition. I think I see our director out in the crowd. 3 of our Public Works projects received the 2026 Project of the Year Awards from the Sacramento chapter of the American Public Works Association, the Sacramento EV Blueprint, the Franklin Boulevard Complete Street Project, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Library renovation. So we just want to thank our Public Works team for all the work that they do. Thank you. Yeah.
Good job.
We would like your feedback on some housing and zoning. This is our missing middle housing survey. Residents have until August the 31st to provide feedback, and it's on our city's 2040 general plan and zoning consistency work. You can find that information on the cityofsacramento.gov webpage, but we all know missing middle is a key part to making sure that people get housed. So if we could get your feedback on that survey through August the 31st, we would appreciate that. And my last and final comment is McKinley Park Rose Garden. Residents can volunteer every Wednesday through October from 8 a.m. to noon to help care for rose gardens. You do not have to have any experience to come and volunteer at our Rose Gardens. We will actually provide the tools, the gloves, and everything needed. So please meet us out every Wednesday through October from 8 to noon at McKinley Park Rose Garden. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, we now go to public comments matters not on the agenda, and I do have 9 speakers. The first is Lambert Davis, Fernando Burton, Lisa Sanchez, then Josh M.
It's actually refreshing to hear that city manager's report, because people actually even clap, because it's been so long of hearing it, and it's such a big budget, you should be able to hear that. That's outstanding. The millennials wanted me to pass on a message to City Council Maple. They really did. And I agree with them, that you're on your last step of the pregnancy. It's really not worth coming here. I mean, you can work remotely. There's some people that, but they wanted me to say that because it's vital, the last part, the last stage of your pregnancy, that you are at home, rested, family taking care of you. As a matter of fact, I read an article where your husband, they did an article on you and your husband in some paper where he was doing what he should be doing, which was cleaning and laundry. So think about that, not coming here, because you've already been approved with a resolution not to even come here. I'm surprised to see you actually, but I wish you well, because September is right around the corner.
Thank you for caring.
This is for Mr. Dickerson, the mayor, the city council, and hopefully the economics department. When I was at an event a couple of weeks ago at the Robinson Center, there were some people that approached my family. I was there not to deal with City Hall, but they approached me about opening up a business account. It's not easy to open up a business account if you don't know about business. You have to have a fictitious statement and meet the deadline. And I have all of that. So we opened one up yesterday in Del Paso Heights. They set it up in Del Paso Heights. So I hope I'm going to be hearing from this city.
Next speaker is Fernando Burton, then Lisa Sanchez.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I've lived at my Midtown house for 31 years, and I'm here for a second time to talk about concerns I have at the intersection of 19th and O. The reason I'm here is that on July 31st, there was an accident at the intersection, and one car careened into the house at the southwest corner of the intersection and sheared off a natural gas meter. We had gas spewing for about 45 minutes to an hour. We were all very lucky. This is the 33rd collision in that intersection. What the city did maybe a few days later is they removed one parking spot to improve the sight line for westbound O Street traffic. Not less than 1 week later, there was another collision, so it didn't help. We've had meetings with city staff and with Councilman Pluckybound, which I really do appreciate, at the intersection, but nothing tangible has happened. There's a guidance document that city staff uses, and it states that the decision of traffic control devices shall be made using engineering judgment or engineering study, and that a particular device at a particular intersection should be made on the basis of either a study or the application of engineering judgment. And lastly, that manual states that the manual should not be considered a substitute for engineering judgment. It's one or the other. What frustrates me even more is that the intersection of 22nd and L has had 2 accidents over that same period of time. And they installed a stop sign on the 22nd Street side. So they have a 4-way stop now with 2 accidents. We have nothing with now 34 accidents. The owners of the house have to spend a considerable amount of money to fix their foundation and any other repairs resulting from that accident.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Lisa Sanchez, then Josh M. Thank you for your comments. Lisa, then Josh.
Sir, someone will meet you in the back of the room and get your information.
Hello, my name is Lisa Sanchez, and I'm with River City Waterway Alliance. I only get 2 minutes, so I'm going to power through all of my notes, so please be patient with me. I've come here for kudos and thanks, and along with just to kind of give you a quick rundown, I wanted to thank Lisa Kaplan for working with us to clean Steelhead Creek and Robla Creek, Roger Dickinson for working with us to clean Steelhead Creek and Arcade Creek, Rick Jennings for helping us to clean along the Sacramento River, providing dumpsters and listening to our requests for vegetation management along the Sacramento River. I want to say thanks to Karina Talamontes for our partnered cleanup event at Steelhead Creek, which is this Saturday, so thank you so much. I want to give thanks to DOU, we love them, Mick Smith, Mike Peroni, Mike Gonzalez, Eugene Geyser, and Lisa Moretti. The creeks, canals, and tributaries are looking amazing and have drastically improved. I would like to see trash booms installed along Morrison Creek, probably to the mouth of it, right before it enters the bufferlands. We partner with Elk Grove Anti-Trash once a month often for the last few years in order to help the bufferlands and Sac Sewer to clean it. It needs more help. We want to give thanks to Hezekiah Allen and Brian Pedro with DCR for working with local agencies and assisting with encampments along our local waterways. I want to give thanks to City Parks, Jackie Beecham, Jason Weissman, Shannon Brown, Sean Aylesworth, Esteban Lopez, Park Rangers, and the maintenance team. They have done a fantastic job, and they obviously need more assistance with budget, but they do what they can, and we just want to say thank you to that. I heard the DOU rate increase. I think that's a great idea. I think that if people can see what utilities has to do and how much ground they have to cover, they need it. Again, trash capture devices along Morrison Creek. And also, I've been trying to connect with Public Works. I saw that they were in here, and I didn't get to corner them.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Josh M., then Tasha Johnson, then Kayla Devoti.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Josh Messias, and I'm an organizer with the Sacramento Immigration Committee. Over the past year and some change, we've regularly gone to Canvas and Door Knock in South Sac. We've heard from Mexicanos themselves and their neighbors about the concerns and fears around ICE's operation and their emboldened efforts with the current Trump administration. This was leading up to and following the open raid perpetrated by ICE at the Home Depot there on Florin Avenue, or Florin Road. We weren't deterred from being in the community, just like the workers weren't deterred from working. We learned that entire neighborhoods are affected by the mere unchecked presence of ICE in the streets, not showing up to work, being scared to go shopping, falling behind on rent. And this is why the SAC Immigration Committee does the work that we do. We are in the affected neighborhoods. We're handing out our Migro Watch info so that people know they have a trusted source to believe in, and they don't have to be scared from a random post on Facebook claiming that ICE is in the area when they're not. The lack of urgency to move on real sanctuary city policy is provided zero relief for the affected communities, and it doesn't go unnoticed. In recent days, we started a petition for a real sanctuary city, where we lay out the farce you call sanctuary city policy, and we've gotten 50 signatures each day in the past week. So we will continue spreading the word of what's happening here and asking the people we meet to sign our petition so that you know that we're not the only one in SAC here and that we're not the only voices that see the current policies as utter failures, to be honest. So my only question here is, when we bring those voices and we come, will you listen? Thank you.
Next speaker is Tasha Johnson, then Kayla Devoti.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Tasha Johnson, and I am honored to serve as the new Executive Director for Youth Forward. And when I say new, it's day 6. So I'm excited to begin this work and build the partnership with the city to continue advancing opportunities for youth throughout Sacramento. Youth Forward has been an organization actively engaged in the prevention of youth substance use at both the local and the state levels for several years. And 2 years ago, through our work with young people in local high schools, we learned that some vape shops and corner stores were selling intoxicating hemp products to minors. Surprise, surprise. Many of these products were potent than those available in licensed cannabis dispensaries and were packaged in candy flavors and marketed towards children. Youth Forward researched the issue and brought our findings to this council, the County Board of Supervisors, and the Governor's Office. Because of our advocacy and the deep work of our partners, the county banned these products in the summer of 2024, followed by a statewide ban enacted by the Governor's Office that fall. This summer, we continued the important work with the support of 2 outstanding summer interns. They conducted additional research into local vape shops and uncovered new information that they are here to share with you today. So it will be my pleasure to introduce Kayla Devote and Yulin Zhu. Thank you.
Kayla's our next speaker.
Good afternoon, Mayor McCarty and members of the City Council. My name is Kayla Devote, and I'm an intern at Youth Forward. This summer, we conducted research in the city of Sacramento surveying the types and prevalence of prohibited addictive substances sold at licensed vape and smoke shops, as well as the proximity of these shops to schools. Studies have shown that tobacco retailer density near schools is positively correlated with increased premature exposure to substances and youth substance abuse. Our goal is to reduce harm caused by addiction and overdose in our community by identifying whether local vape and smoke shops are selling the following dangerous, addictive products and marketing them to youth. Kratom and 7-OH, an oral substance which at low doses promotes alertness, but at high doses can become a sedative and lead to psychosis. Kratom was implicated in 242 overdose deaths in California alone between the years 2020 and 2022. Since October of 2025, Kratom and 7-OH have been illegal to distribute in California per the California Department of Public Health. Nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas, a fast-acting sedative that can cause serious health complications, including brain damage and death. In California, it is prohibited to distribute it for recreational purposes. Psilocybin, also known as magic mushrooms, an oral hallucinogen that can induce psychosis and at higher doses, death. Psilocybin was criminalized in California through a series of legislation in the California Uniform Controlled Substances Act of 1972. Intoxicating hemp products, lab-made THC with side effects 30 times more likely to result in medical complications, including death, than THC from marijuana. As previously mentioned, since 2024, there has been a ban on synthetic THC products sold in vape and smoke shops in California. My fellow intern Lynn will later briefly describe the structure of our research, our findings, and their significance.
Yolin.
My name is Yulin, and I am an intern with Youth Forward. So in July, we investigated 16 licensed vape and smoke shops around the city of Sacramento, including East Sacramento and Fab 40s. At each store, we recorded the aforementioned types of banned products that were found, as well as the distance and type of the nearest school from the shop. We pretended to be customers and used fabricated backstories and probing questions to encourage the shopkeepers to reveal any hidden banned products if they carried any. We found banned addictive products of one kind or another at over half the stores we investigated, numbering at 9. All of these stores are well within walking distance at under half a mile from the nearest school. Furthermore, 4 stores stood out in particular as they were less than 600 feet from the nearest school, including Natomas High, where I graduated. We did not find any THC products at any of the stores. Based on our findings, violations of existing laws prohibiting the sale of kratom, 7-OH, nitrous oxide, and psilocybin products for recreational use are not uncommon in the city of Sacramento. According to Governor Newsom, in March earlier this year, 95% of stores in California have complied with kratom and 7-OH regulations, removing these substances from their shelves. We observed from our more recent investigation that Sacramento stores exhibit much lower compliance than the rest of the state, as 31% of stores that were investigated sold kratom or kratom derivatives. We therefore urge the City Council to direct authorities and related agencies to regularly inspect vape and smoke shops, especially licensed ones, to properly enforce said laws and increase the compliance rate. Violations, especially if repeated, should carry appropriate and meaningful consequences for the vendors responsible, including penalties on their license. Thank you very much for your time and consideration of this matter.
Thank you. Next speaker is L.R. Roberts, then Richard Wake. So I have two more speakers, L.R. Roberts and then Richard Wake is virtual.
I'm L.R. Roberts. I live in District 5. Three things. Today, I was taking my dog to the vet, and on the way back, I saw two trafficked girls on Stockton Boulevard, one south of Elva. Hope I'm saying that street right. It's a little bit north of 47th Avenue, and then one a little north and one a little south. One in particular didn't have anything on the back but chains. So I called Katie's office and talked to somebody, and they said they're going to send me the contact. I had a really nice talk with the city manager about this and didn't get the phone number of this task force that I'm being told existed. Last time I called the police, they said to call the sheriff, and when I called the sheriff, I could never talk to anybody at all. These girls look definitely under 16, and they also look mixed race, so they look like my young grandchildren and great-grandchildren, so I'm not happy. So that's one thing. The other thing is, last time I was here, I wrote a note to the city attorney about the fact that we know that the cops have been helping ICE, that they escorted them up and down, I guess in the wrong way on the street, on N Street. They also arrested 3 people and put 1 person in the hospital. But yet when I come to these meetings, people say they haven't been helping ICE. And when I attended the military use meeting by the police at Oak Park, they also said they hadn't been helping ICE. Now we know they've been helping ICE. So I have talked to a little bit of the city auditor about how much that cost, but I also think it's against the law to say you're not doing something that you are.
Ms. Roberts, the police will meet you in the back. Thank you.
The officer can help you in the back with the
Thank
PD
you.
question.
Richard Wake?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Yeah, Richard Wake, City Council District 7. So I'm just calling to talk a little bit about, some of the disruptions that have happened at the City Council meeting. The first thing I'm going to say is, people that are sending, threats of violence against the council members or their families or shouting obscenities and, vile names and things like that, that's wrong. But, with some of the problems that are going here in this part of Southland Park, I strongly believe that there's a strong sentiment throughout the city that people are not being heard. And I'm going to draw attention to the South Hill Shopping Center. We've been waiting 9 months now for changes to happen at the shopping center regarding security improvements, lighting, cameras. Now, things have been done. Curb painting is done. Some barriers have been put up. Signage has been put up. Some citations have been issued. But, all that we're asking here, and this is just not me, this is a group of about 30 to 40 some people that live here in this neighborhood in a little pocket that want to know what's been accomplished, what still needs to be accomplished, and the timeline for getting everything done. We've also been waiting for months and months here for crosswalk improvements. Mr. Lang from the traffic department said that an observation was going to be done at 35th and Lonsdale to see if the crosswalk could be painted yellow. School's on. Kids are crossing the street. We're not getting any responses from Councilmember Jennings or from Dennis Rogers. Some responses have been given, but we're not getting any updates. Now, again, maybe some things have been done, and maybe some improvements are in the pipeline. But, when you're not communicating information back to people, that's just wrong. Councilwoman Bang and Councilwoman Maple and Vice Mayor.
Thank you for your comments. Mayor, I have no more speakers and no more business to come before the council.
Thank you. We will adjourn and reconvene at 5 p.m.